Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 79. And today's guest is firefighter paramedic Matt Lanio. And as some of you will remember, Matt has been on the show before. We had a great conversation then. We have an even better one now. Talks about how he went through treatment and some of the things that he's been through. And yeah, hopefully just trying to help reduce the stigma and hopefully eliminate it all the way. So we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys do. Hope you learned something from it. The biggest takeaway probably for me would be that, just let everybody know that you're not alone. So yeah, here's episode number 79 with Matt Lanio. Yeah. Anyway, we normally start the conversation and then I hit the record button, but since we were kind of getting into it, it's a reset.
Okay. Take two.
Yeah, take two. See, but again, maybe that's why I need a producer back there, somebody who can kind of do that for me.
I mean, I could hit the buttons, but I don't necessarily want to be on camera all the time.
Well, I don't think anybody wants that to be the truth.
Yeah. I could probably do the Moran job, but the non-speaking part of the Moran job.
Well,
I don't have the baby face for camera like he does.
Yeah. Anyway, so Matt, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So you were the first guest that we had whenever we moved into the new studio.
That's right.
Yep.
It's looking good.
Yeah. It was pretty much completely done, almost. Yeah. I mean, I've made a few updates and changes since you were here, but yeah. So you were on the podcast before, and we kind of talked about a couple line of duty deaths, that you were at and stuff, and had that conversation. And then a couple months after that, what happened?
I ended up kind of spiraling downhill. I ended up having basically a mental breakdown at the station. Ended up, and I mean, there was no straw that broke the camel's back. It was just kind of a buildup of a bunch of personal shit and a bunch of self-doubt, and had a concussion and was just dealing with a bunch of shit from that. And ended up getting taken to the hospital. Went through that, ended up in an intensive outpatient therapy program, Valiant, and it was amazing. Completely changed my perspective, outlook, viewpoint on life in general. It was a complete turnaround.
Cool. So you were at the station and you went from the station to the hospital?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking embarrassing as shit. I can't even really remember exactly what was going on that day. It just got to a breaking point where, I went in and told my captain, I don't know what the fuck's happening to me. I can't fucking do it anymore. And talked for a little bit, and he asked if it would be okay if he took me to the hospital because he didn't want me to leave and something happened. This was probably within a month or so of another guy in the area killing himself. And ended up going down there mid-shift and feeling like a piece of shit going down there, and started my road to recovery.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad that, you just couldn't hack it. And
yeah, basically.
I'm joking. No, dude, that, obviously it sucks.
Yeah.
And none of us want to get to that point, but being able to recognize that and then having the relationship or whatever with your captain, and good on him for
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, not saying, oh, okay, well, just take some time off or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like, no, we're gonna make sure we do this right.
and
So
I've never been in that situation before. I didn't have any weapons with me. I didn't have a plan, which is why I ended up not getting the mandatory hold. Basically, if I had had a plan and wanted to off myself, then I would have been on the hold. But it was more a feeling of just not giving a fuck whether I woke up or didn't wake up, and just kind of a general malaise of worthlessness. And yeah,
yeah. Well,
it's rough.
I can tell you from experience that 96-hour hold sucks balls.
I'll bet it does.
So, um, so yeah, you went to the hospital.
Went to the hospital. They offered me inpatient therapy or intensive outpatient therapy. Having a family, I didn't want to do the inpatient, especially since I didn't really want to off myself. I just didn't want to wake up, basically. So I knew that going to treatment was going to be the best option. I knew some people who had been before and had spoken with them, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction and got me in touch with the branch of our union that deals with that. And so I'd been talking to quite a few people even before getting to the hospital and then while at the hospital, and they kind of told me what to expect, what direction, to look for, what my different options were before the doctors came in and told me what the options were. And so I told them I'd rather do the outpatient therapy and ended up doing that for 4 months. And it was an eye opener. I mean, I know I'm saying this a bunch, but it completely changed my outlook on life. I mean, it's not like going into a room and sitting down and singing Kumbaya. They actually, break it down into, the brain chemistry and, it actually goes into more of the psychology of why you're thinking the way you're thinking, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, how to start making the shift, how to start giving yourself grace and being able to accept what's coming without, just shutting down. And it took a while to start the shift, but once the shift started moving, it was easy to keep going in that direction.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the problems whenever you get to that point is being able to change your perspective.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's huge being able to do that. And
absolutely,
like you said, give yourself some grace and look at situations and problems in a different light.
Exactly.
So,
and I've always kind of beat myself up for things that I have viewed as failures, which, I mean, even if the outcome is positive and feel like you did something wrong, I mean, it's hard to look at it from the macro and look at the whole thing and be like, okay, learn from it, change this, do a little bit more training on this, et cetera, et cetera. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, I've said it a whole bunch on this podcast, the personality types that are attracted to these jobs. I mean, we kind of have, I don't want to say it's a hero complex, but we're very type A. And whenever we show up on a scene, we expect there to be a good outcome. And we expect,
right.
Especially towards the beginning of our career, it's one of those things where, we kind of have a head knowledge of we can't save everybody, but we don't have that heart knowledge.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I understand that they can't save everybody, but I'm different.
Right.
I can,
Exactly.
And that's one of the hardest things to accept, I think.
Yep.
Is that you're not going to do everything right every single time. It doesn't matter what type of paragod you are. There are situations where it doesn't matter what you do. It's just their time.
100%. And it's hard sometimes to separate those. You get the kid that about the same age and size as your kid, and not to get into details, but you see something bad happen to them, and it's hard not to imagine that as being your kid that just had to happen, and hard to get out of your head. So
Yeah.
kind of everything piled on top of itself, and
Yeah.
like I said, it wasn't one thing that happened and I just kind of spiraled. It was all kind of building on itself, and
Yeah.
I've been fighting it for a while.
And that's the thing, the cumulative effect is often overlooked.
Right.
Because
it's like that frog in the hot water.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And I think that is more, I mean, obviously we see traumatic events way more often than the general public.
Right.
But I think for most of us, it's the cumulative effect of those traumatic events over the courses of a career.
Right.
And I don't, some people handle it better than others, but I don't think there's anybody out there that you can't do this job and not be affected. I don't see it.
Yeah, there's definitely people who handle it better than others. It's easy to feel like you're handling it.
Yeah.
Until all of a sudden you can't. I mean, just like we were talking about with the frog.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the pediatrics that were really fucking with me, and then all of a sudden it's a bunch more than just that. And it just snowball effect.
Yeah. What is the term? I had a guest on. His episode will be live next week, Steve Pope, and he had a really good, because that was his thing too, was just, cumulative effect over 20 years of shit. Stuff is piling up. I mean, it's no different than like the backpack analogy. Yep. You put a backpack on and you walk around, it's not a big deal. Then you add a rock to it. It's not a big deal. Then another rock, then another rock, then another. Pretty soon, there's too many damn rocks in that backpack.
Absolutely. Yep.
So.
And it feel pretty worthless when you first decide to accept the help, and there's a lot of self-hatred and kind of beating yourself up, and it took me probably a good month to realize that it was showing more strength to reach out and get the help instead of just giving up and being done with it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Did you have that thought process or feeling that you're the only one that's going through this?
Yeah, until I was in there. Yeah.
Until you were in there and you saw a bunch of people that you knew.
Right, and with a lot of the same feelings, and it's like, okay. Which I'm glad that the stigma is starting to go away. I don't know if it'll ever completely go away, but I was very surprised with the amount of support that I got from pretty much everybody when I started going through this, and it was extremely helpful having that support.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because you feel fucking lonely as shit when you first start out, and then,
Yeah. Well, dude, as far as the stigma goes, I think for the most part, we could probably eradicate that in the department. It's just going to take a culture shift, and it's going to take a long time. And it's unfortunate to say, but it's one of those deals where you have to get rid of all of the ones that are basically reinforcing that stigma. Or you have to change their mind.
Right.
Because what happens is you get young kids who come on and they're at those stations with those individuals, and they look up to those people or whatever because they're good firemen or whatever, and they start to take on those same traits, and that's how that just kind of rolls down.
Right.
And it doesn't go away. And that's the hardest part, is changing the culture.
Absolutely.
But I mean, we're making progress.
I think
And
so.
I think some departments are way ahead and some departments are way behind. And
I don't know that we would have had access to this Valiant, before, 2015? I mean, nobody really thought about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard of people occasionally having that issue, and I think after 2015 is when we finally opened our eyes and started accepting, okay, maybe there is something to this.
Yeah. Well, and it seems to be a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
Just like, like medicine with the military. And it seems to be like we kind of are probably a decade behind or whatever they're doing. So, they recognize that having troops in contact for 20 years is a bad fucking idea. And it's going to have consequences. So they start doing stuff about it. And then, everybody else starts kind of saying, oh, well, this is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start,
Yep.
So it takes time. I mean, because you're basically building a whole infrastructure, starting from scratch on, okay, well, now we need therapists. Okay, well, there's not really that many therapists out there, just in general.
Right.
For just the regular population. But now we want them to specialize.
Right.
Okay, so now we need more of those. We need programs. And then, well, shit, we need money. Because you got to have money to run this shit.
Right.
Somebody's got to pay for it. So how are we going to pay for it? So it's just it's a big problem that
it is.
It's a big problem that requires small solutions. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
It's not one big solution. It's a bunch of little solutions.
Yep. And that's why we're so blessed in this area to have David.
Yeah.
Got somebody who's been in the military, been a first responder, is a damn good therapist. I mean, fucking smart. I mean, fucking brilliant man. I mean, he would hate it if you knew that I was talking about him right now. But
have you seen his episode of the podcast?
I haven't.
Yeah. You should watch that one. It's pretty entertaining.
I definitely will. I didn't know you'd had him on.
Yep.
So, yeah, David's awesome.
Yeah. He is. He knows his shit, man.
Definitely does.
I think...
And he's got a great way of being able to teach it to where it's easy for you to pick up and understand and be able to grasp and use. And it's not just... I mean, I took psychology in college, and... fuck. It was awful.
Yeah.
Hard to stay awake. I mean, that's not how it is at all. I mean, obviously, you go to treatment because you want to be there and you care about getting yourself better. So it's not like being in college and just being there to fuck off. So, there's a big difference in the two. But, I mean, he actually gives it to you fundamentally where you can take it and use it to better your life. And it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, he knows how to communicate.
Right.
With firefighters and first responders and cops and military, and that's something that I think is maybe an overlooked skill. But we're getting more and more therapists and programs, not just here, but nationwide. Yep. There's some good big stuff going on, and it's helping a lot of people. So hopefully awesome. we can continue the trend.
Absolutely.
So I was kind of talking about it the other night with some guys that I had on, and they were asking me kind of like why I started the podcast and stuff. And I said, honestly, dude, I went down the rabbit hole of watching podcasts and listening to podcasts and stuff. And I started searching for a podcast like this that was firefighters talking to other firefighters and military and cops and stuff about this stuff. I couldn't find one. So I was like, I can sit there and run my mouth on camera for a little while.
Pretty good at running your mouth. So.
Well, I have my days. I have my days. There are also days where I just sit there and go like, man, I don't have anything to freaking say. I hope this guest talks a lot. I feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes, which I probably am. So
Yeah, fill the time.
Well, that's why I like to keep it like at the fire station. This is the kitchen table. We solve the world's problems
Hell yeah.
around the kitchen table in the fire station.
It'd be nice if they'd start listening to us.
You know, it would. Maybe this can be the catalyst for change.
That's right. Platform you need.
Yeah. We'll start talking about other subjects like gun control and politics and
you can have somebody else on for those.
It's funny that we all, and I don't know, maybe that's the personality type or whatever, but we will sit there and have those conversations. If they would just do this.
Mm-hmm. Shit, we solved the ambulance issues
10 years ago.
Every department 10 years ago. They just won't fucking listen to us.
Yeah, and I don't know. We can't scream any louder, I don't think.
Nope.
So.
It is what it is.
Yeah. That's why you got to get promoted. Several more times, and then someone will listen to you.
Yeah.
What?
Got a long way to go to get those promotions.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah.
After we finish up. So, yeah, dude. Look, I'm glad you're doing well. I've worked with you a couple times since then. So,
tricked you into
working. Overtime. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm doing good too. I didn't think I would be in this position a year ago, but hell of a lot happier and healthier for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can honestly tell that I've seen the change.
Thank you.
So, even on the softball field. I mean, you're still a shit talker. That hasn't changed at all.
No.
But the angry tint to it isn't there anymore.
Yeah,
I
couldn't even really tell you the last time I was, even with the kids, you get mad, but it's not uncontrollable, everything in the world's fucking burning down, It's like, all right, it's over. Let's figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
Move on.
You're able to step back and look for a solution instead of...
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, dude, and that's just good advice in general.
It is.
Just take a step back.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
There's no reason to make umpires cry. It's just recreational softball.
Exactly. I mean, my favorite move still is to throw my glove, but it's not a big throw anymore. It's just a drop it on the ground.
You don't look like an angry toddler anymore when you do it.
Stop throwing the ball to home.
That was great.
Dude. That's, but honestly, it's one of those things that gives you every opportunity to practice what you've learned.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of shit that will piss you off if you let it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's why I always look out at you after something happens. Like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do out there?
Mostly it's are you kidding me? Oh, whatever. God, give me strength to accept what I can't change and to know what those things are.
Exactly. That's the most important.
Oh. So what are your plans going forward? I know you changed stations. Taking a little break for a little while.
A lot. Going to be studying for the next promotion test and just kind of trying to get my body back in shape now that I've finally got my mind back where it needs to be and see if I can get rid of the 60 pounds I've been lugging around.
Well, it's just
we'll see.
Diet and working out, man.
Yep.
That's it. And whenever I say diet, I don't mean go on a diet. I mean get something that's sustainable and like a healthy meal plan that you're following.
It's the not eat the right way until 7 p.m. and then just be a shit gut.
Yeah. No, dude, I have that same. Like sugar is my thing, and it's the worst because it causes inflammation and all kinds of shit, which that's not good for me.
No.
So I got races coming up that I got to run, and so
running some races.
Yeah.
What races you running?
I guess we're supposed to do some kind of 5K in August that Rachel wants me to do with her. She's going to do it. It's for mental health. I think I probably will I'll do an episode about it or put a link up on social media or somewhere about it.
Nice.
And then we're doing the Run Ragnar Race in Wisconsin in September. And that's a relay race. You have 8 people on your team. And basically what it is they have 3, it's trail running. So it's not on the road.
I just thought of Nelson being on your team.
Nelson will not be on my team. No. So you have 3 loops that you run basically. And one of them is 7 miles, one of them's like 4 miles, and one of them's like 3 miles or something like that. And apparently the 7-mile one is like an ass kicker because it's a bunch of elevation change and on top of being 7 miles.
I was gonna say it's 7 miles. Sounds like an ass kicker.
Yeah. So, but what you do is like runner number 1 will run loop 1. And then whenever they get back, runner number 2 takes off and they run like loop 2. And then runner number 3, whenever runner number 2 gets back, will run loop 3. And then you start it all over again until all 8 people on your team have ran all the loops. And you start at like 7 in the morning on like a Friday and you finish on Saturday whenever you finish. So you're running all night.
This sounds fun.
Actually, it does kind of sound a little bit fun, but I'm doing it more to challenge myself. Because just to be perfectly honest, I haven't challenged myself with my fitness in a long time. Not since I was fighting, really. And I was in fantastic shape then because I had to be.
Yeah.
And I stay in shape, I work out, but I haven't pushed myself to really see what I was capable of in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 42 years old, so
almost middle-aged.
Yeah. So I want to push myself. I want to start, get back into it and be the best me physically that I can.
Yeah.
So I'm working on the mental part. So why wouldn't I put a little bit more effort in the physical part instead of just coming down the basement, working out for 45 minutes, going, okay, that's good. I'm going to go mow the grass or watch TV or hang out with my dog or whatever, which is all stuff that I'm going to do anyway. Because even if I worked out for 2 hours, I'm still done by 9 o'clock.
Right.
I still got the whole day to play video games or whatever else I want to do. Do projects. So, and that's my thing. People bitch and moan about, well, I don't have time to go see a therapist, or I don't have time to work out, or I don't have blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you do. It's about priorities.
Yep.
Like, does your mental health matter? Does your physical health matter? What's your priority? And I'm not saying you got to work out for 2 hours or you got to go to a therapy session for, an hour every day. But once a month, every other week, just do shit.
Yep. Getting started is the hardest part.
Yeah, it is. And what does it take? It takes 1,000 hours to build something into a habit. So, that's a long time.
Yep.
And it takes even longer to break, depending on what it is. It takes longer to break bad habits It takes shorter to break good habits.
Yep.
Which is really fucking weird that the brain does that.
I'd always heard it as like 6 weeks to create a routine and 2 weeks to break it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate, but
Sounds about right.
that's what I've always been told.
Yeah.
It's hard to start that routine back up once it's broken.
It is. It seems like it takes more momentum.
It does.
You know,
more willpower, more
work to get them
to.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to like talk about running, you know, once you get into that flow of running and you're going and going and going and going, it's easy to stay going.
Yep.
Or I'm not going to say it's easy, but if you stop,
easier.
Yeah, if you stop and start walking, how much harder is it to start that run again?
Yep. Absolutely.
So, and it's the little things, man. The little things in life pay big dividends.
Most definitely do.
The small habits.
Small habits.
Oh, shit.
I don't know where to go from there.
I don't know well, tell me, what's a small habit that you've changed since you went to treatment?
Oh. Not sure that there's anything I've really changed habit-wise. It's more my outlook on things. Like driving, for instance. Used to be, if I'm in a hurry and I'm in the left lane and I'm going and somebody cuts me off, get the road rage, you get pissed off, fuck them, you're in, somebody wants to cut you off, kind of battle with them, got real angry with that. Now it's, okay, here you go. Not worth it. Not worth getting angry about. It's not going to change anything that's happened. Chill.
Yeah. Are you leaving earlier so you're not in such a rush?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Didn't change that habit at all.
No, because I've always left and given myself enough time to get places. And I mean, if you're going 7 over as opposed to 3 over, what are you saving? 45 seconds?
Yeah.
So just kind of a chill the fuck out, take a deep breath. They weren't trying to do anything to you. It's not a personal attack on you, them cutting you off. It's not an invitation.
Yes, it is.
To get into an argument or anything like that.
It's a total invitation.
I'll tell you, one of my habits I've changed is looking for fights on Facebook. You see somebody post something that you think's stupid, and for whatever reason, you just decide you want to get into an argument with someone, and say I'm down to doing that only about 15-20% of the time instead of closer to like 90% of the time now. Still fucking stupid. There's no point in it. Not going to change anything.
Oh, dude. Social media is... God, that's one of those things that it's like... That's true, though. It's like people are on there just to have a fucking argument.
Yeah.
And you're not going to change anybody's mind.
No. No, it's not worth it.
No. I mean, you can hit them with all the facts.
Right.
And common sense and knowledge that you could throw at them. And the response will be, fuck you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually it's a poorly worded fuck you. It's not even fuck you. It's just...
Or it's a duck you because their phone autocorrected it. So, yeah, I mean, there's no point getting worked up over it. Try to stay off Facebook unless I'm posting jokes anyway.
Well,
so
just do what I do. Just don't be on Facebook at all.
Yeah.
Even though the podcast has a Facebook page, I'd say everybody probably realizes that it doesn't get used very much.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's where I go for my updates, and must be why I didn't know David had been on it.
Yeah. It's YouTube and Spotify.
I've got both of those.
Yeah. It's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Today's Thursday.
Yep, we had a new one yesterday.
Oh.
It goes on YouTube at 5 a.m. It goes on Spotify at 6 a.m.
I won't be up for the premieres.
I don't set them as premieres. Maybe I should. Maybe that would get
Maybe
more
it
people.
would.
Yeah, get more people to watch or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What do you think? What's your opinion on how social media has changed our job? Or do you even have one?
I'm trying to think. I came on in 2011. So there was social media, but it wasn't.
It wasn't what it is now.
No, but I mean, when I came on, you were still conscious of somebody videotaping you with their phone. I mean, they weren't great videos, but I don't know. I'm conflicted because part of me wants to say if it's not, you wouldn't do something or you shouldn't do something you don't want on video anyway. But with HIPAA laws and that kind of shit, you don't really want your patients' videos out there. But I mean, it's easier to spread hate and whatnot if you decide that you don't like something that someone's done or.
Yeah, and the creatively edited videos that only show something that is construed completely of what was not happening.
Right.
But you take a little 10-second snippet or 5-second snippet,
right,
and it totally changes what was really going on.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I think it affects PD more than it affects us. I'm sure there's people in our profession who would disagree because they've gone through issues with it, but me personally, I haven't. So,
yeah. Well,
outside of trying to sway the public opinion, if you're a citizen, talking shit, I don't know, or taking videos. I mean, I think we do a pretty damn good job at our job. So, I personally don't care if people are videotaping, but outside of HIPAA and trying to protect my patient, that doesn't bother me.
And that's the angle that I look at it too, is protecting the patient and the patient's privacy. And I've lost count of how many times people have been video and stuff. And it's like, I mean, technically what they're doing is not illegal.
Right.
Especially if you're in a public place, then they have the right to do that. What pisses me off is whenever they get in the middle of the scene.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I'm nice about it.
Yeah.
But I move them out of the scene and explain to them very nicely that I'm going to be taking their information. I'm going to be passing it on to the patient so they can sue them. Which, whether or not that's accurate, I don't know.
Right.
But it usually stops people from filming.
I can only remember one incident where we had a critical patient and somebody, I mean, they weren't trying to get into the middle of it, but they were, like right over the shoulder. And PD was there. I think all we did was ask him nicely once, and he didn't listen to us. And if I remember correctly, my captain just looked at PD, and PD picked up on what was needed and came over and moved the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know what ended up happening with him. But
yeah, probably nothing.
Yeah.
But at least he was out of the way. So, and that's the thing, like, the general public needs to understand. Like, there is such a thing as interfering with emergency services. Right. That is a law.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't care if you're going to film. But don't be in the middle of the scene. Because what if it's your family member?
Right.
It's your mother or your brother or your sister or your kid.
Yep. And
you're more concerned about videotaping it than us being able to provide
everybody
the care
wants
that's
that
needed.
Next viral video.
Yeah. Is it worth it for you to have a viral video if you cause a scene and shit goes bad because you caused a scene?
Depends on how selfish that person is. Well, there seems to be a lot of selfishness in the world.
Yeah, I was talking to, well, I've had the conversation with Rachel too, but like, there's like something weird going on, man. It's almost like, what the fuck is happening? Because people are acting I mean, for lack of a better term, people are acting cray-cray.
Yeah.
And doing some really stupid shit. And it seems like it's more abundant now than it was in the past. Or maybe it's because of the way our media is now and the social media and all that stuff that we're just more aware of it, of the
There's
incidences.
some of that, but I think it's hard to put a finger on it. I mean, you're right though. There's a bunch of stupid shit going on. There's probably a little bit of it that's because it's more accessible to find out, what's going on across the world, so you're gonna be able to see more of it. But
Well, and that's what the mainstream media and social media focuses on too.
Right.
Is it's all about clicks.
Yep.
It's getting you to watch, and that's what draws views.
Absolutely.
I mean,
nobody wants to see a bunch of people getting along.
Yeah.
That gets boring.
Yeah.
You want to see people fight. You want to see people argue, disagree.
It's like the formula is like 10 horrific stories and one feel-good story.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10 more horrific stories and then one feel-good story. It's like...
Well, and you'll hear about a horrific story for, a few different broadcasts.
Yeah.
But you'll hear about a good story on one or two.
Yeah.
And it seems like they pick and choose which events to really publicize hard. I mean, you get 2 people killed, and depending on the narrative that, that news agency is trying to push, they're going to publicize one more than the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you look at one incident and watch 2 different news agencies, and it's totally different spin.
Yeah.
Between the 2.
Well, and fucking Wall Street Journal's been doing that. I'm sure they're not the only one, but sorry, I probably shouldn't have said Wall Street Journal.
Oh, fuck them. I don't care.
Newspapers in general have been doing that, probably for decades or centuries. I mean, I can remember seeing side-by-side articles, same picture. One of them was in Arizona, one of them was in New York, and they had different headings. It was they were the exact same picture, and the heading leaned more towards the state that it was in.
Yeah. I think it's more now than it used to be. Especially in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even the 80s. I think mainstream media was less sensationalized. And I think it's been a slow ramp up.
Yep.
And it's really kicked into overdrive in the last 10 years. It's
more entertainment TV and less news.
Yeah.
It's like it used to be they're going to report on what was happening. Now they pick and choose what to report on.
And how to report it.
Right.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's hard to know exactly what news source you can trust, can't trust. I mean,
yeah.
Well, can't trust any of them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The obvious answer is don't trust any of them. Yeah. You kind of got to look at...
You got to look at all of them, try to read between the lines. But
yeah. You can look at...
Hard to find exactly which line that is you should be reading.
Yeah. Look, you could drive yourself fucking nuts, just trying to figure out what really happened in one incident.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But I think it's contributing to the mental health issues, like just in the general populace as well, but also for us. It's an added layer of stress, that we have to worry about that now. Whenever I came on the job, did not have to worry about people filming at all, which, it's way down on my list of things that I worry about.
Right.
But since I'm, responsible for people now, it does kind of enter into my brain in my decision-making process.
Right.
Of, hey, do we stay here or should we get this patient in the ambulance like a little faster than probably, just so we can do what needs to be done, or especially if it's like a combative patient or something like that. It's like, okay, what,
That's like the guy who posted the video falling around a ambulance in one of our suburbs, saying that that ambulance kept driving around the neighborhood and was selling drugs at the side. No,
that wasn't ours.
no, it wasn't ours. It was
Yeah.
in one of the suburbs next
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah. I saw Fire Department Chronicles did a thing on that.
Mm-hmm.
That was hilarious.
Yes,
I really should try to get Jason Patton
You
on the
should.
show.
I'm sure
So-
he gets a lot of requests.
I'm sure he does. I saw him on, he did another one like that Firefighter Now. I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube. It's like how to get hired on a fire department and things to expect and that kind of thing. I mean, the guy's pretty dry, but it's good information and he breaks stuff down pretty well. But he had him on for a little talk, but I would definitely like to get him on. But his video on that was freaking hilarious. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the video on the ambulance.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the one that's fucking hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, which I'm assuming pretty much everybody that watches these things is either a firefighter or a cop or a veteran or married to one or has some kind of knowledge of it. Yeah, we have things called dynamic ambulances. And that's basically what they do is they have an area and they drive around that area so they can be close when a call comes in. That's how that works.
Yeah. Not selling drugs at the side of it.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, though. That would be a great cover.
Yeah. Gonna have to fight all the ice cream trucks.
Big perm. Oh. Yeah. And we've kind of talked about this before, but the knowledge gap of what we do and the things we see and what the general public thinks we do is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you don't know what you don't know. And in most people's experience, with the fire service is maybe once, maybe twice. They come to a station visit with their kid or, we might run them on a call and that's it. That's the only interaction that they've ever had with us.
Right.
Or they might, they'll see us running hot down the street or whatever. They don't know. But then you've got shows like Chicago Fire and Lone Star 911 and, Rescue 911,
Who
whatever.
also don't know.
They have whoever the advisors are on those shows. And I get that you have to Hollywood it up
Right.
for entertainment purposes. But they do a severe disservice. And it's not exclusive to us. I mean, PD has the same problem. The military has the same problem. Yep. If you make an accurate one of what really goes on, it gets panned.
Yeah.
Hardcore. So you got to sensationalize it. But it does.
That's why Rescue Me was so good.
Yeah. Rescue Me was good.
For a couple seasons.
Yeah. I like less the fireground stuff and more the general interactions that they had around the fire station and the personal problems that they all had. Every single character on that show needed strong therapy because they were all fucked up.
Yeah. They were fucking each other. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, then ask. Don't just assume.
Or you don't know to ask.
Well, that's true. You don't even know what questions to ask. Right. Wow.
Whoa.
That was deep, Matt.
Real deep.
Getting all the nuggets of wisdom from you
Right.
today.
Oh, just slipped out.
I don't know. What's your thought or idea on how to help break the stigma?
I think what we're doing is the right thing. We had that class, and I mean, I know there was a lot of bitching and complaining about having the class, but even if it reached just a couple people, I mean, some people who were bitching are probably ones that needed it the most.
I would say 100% of that is
So,
accurate.
I mean, you can make fun of it all you want. I mean, it is what it is, but I think the more classes we have like that, the more the stigma will break and the more people are willing afterwards to come out and say, "Hey, I went through this. It sucked, but you're not alone. Don't feel like you're the only person who's ever felt like this.
Yeah.
And and I think pretty much everybody, for the most part, who has gone through that program or a similar program, are willing to, talk about it with somebody who's going through the issues, or just let it be known that, hey, if you have an issue, you know, don't keep it to yourself.
Well, I think that's the big thing. Excuse me. Is having more department sponsored classes like that, raising awareness, and then you can use the coaster, you can put it on the table. You don't have to set everything on the floor, man.
It's easier for me to reach down there.
Touche, sir. You got the short joke in before I could. And we're 50 minutes in and I hadn't made one yet.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That may be a record for you.
Yeah.
At least in interacting with me.
Yes. Well, I mean, you tee it up usually.
It's true.
So, but yeah, I think, and here's the thing for me, like, obviously we want more department sponsored stuff. As far as those classes and awareness and things like that. But I think, like what you said, the biggest thing, or the thing that could be almost more effective even than that, is people that have been through it sharing their story.
Yep.
And being public about it. Because I think that's how you really, really get the stigma, because you know as well as I do, man. Firemen in particular, like, all it takes is like, okay, so you had somebody work on your house, work on your deck, and they did a shitty job. And then you tell everybody about it.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody uses that guy again. Or, it's no different with mental health.
Yep.
If you go through it and you have a good experience, you go see a therapist and have a good experience. Or you go through a program and have a good experience. You talk about it. If you go through one and have a bad experience, then that's how people stay turned off.
Right.
And what I would say to people like that is, no one treatment modality works for everyone.
Right.
That's just the fact.
Absolutely.
So you may go do talk therapy and it doesn't work for shit for you. You may need to find a different therapist who does a different thing, like EMDR or neurofeedback or desensitization or whatever it may be. I mean, the list of treatment options is damn near fucking infinite.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because people are different. And realizing that and staying focused on it and keep trying, find the one that works for you. And then whatever works for you, then tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
But be open and honest and share that shit, because you know where you were at. You don't want one of your brothers and sisters to get to where you were at and then go further.
Absolutely.
And if you could save somebody the heartache of getting to where you're at,
yeah,
that's
even
just
better.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
Most definitely.
And that's the reason that the podcast was started. Hey, let's try to catch people before they get to that point.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
Real good shit.
Yeah, now it's just getting out there and putting it into practice and getting people to do it. So, and I think that's where you butt up against the stigma.
Yep.
So, I would say don't be afraid. Because here's the best piece of advice that I got. One of the best pieces of advice that I got from an individual who's been on quite a while. And he said, look, man, here's the thing. Everybody's a squirrel to somebody. You're not going to get along with everybody. Personality types, something you said, something they said, something they did, something you did, whatever, rub somebody the wrong way, and you're a fucking squirrel.
Yep.
And you know how it is on the job. Reputation. It takes you about 2 seconds to ruin it. And more likely than not, you're never going to get it back. Or it takes a really long time.
Yep.
So, because it is, tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a fireman.
Absolutely.
So something you do in one part of the city is going to go make its rounds all the way around.
Before lunch.
Yeah. And you know how that telephone game works.
Oh,
What actually happened by the time it gets around is not what's getting told.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. That's the gossip part of the job. I've always said you're never going to find a bigger bunch of 8th grade girls than the fire department. Because, I mean, I don't know if it's boredom or if it's just what.
It's sitting around for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Waiting on calls. Got to talk about something.
Yeah.
Might as well be each other.
And, yeah, we're big shit talkers.
Yeah.
A lot of shit. I mean.
No way.
Yeah. I think there could be a lot of stand-up comedians from the fire department. At least.
Except nobody else would find us funny.
Exactly. I mean, you could get on the hecklers pretty well because there's a lot of guys that are super quick.
Oh yeah.
I'm not one of those guys though. Like I'm the person that
We know.
Yeah. You talk shit and I'm like, fuck. And
3 hours later.
3 hours
it's
later,
Like,
I'm
hey!
like, yeah. Wait, I got the perfect comeback. Too late, dude. Which, by the way, I know you didn't send that fucking text message 3 hours before, fucker. But I just let it go because I was done with that text chain. And I don't think everybody got how I was joking. I probably should have sent an LOL or something along with the first couple texts that I sent in that chain about the whole Ole Miss thing.
You gotta be pretty thick not to have known that you were joking.
Well, I don't know. Some of the texts that followed up didn't seem like they really got the joke.
Everybody knows that you prefer Mississippi State.
Hey, man. It is what it is.
Noobs.
No way, no how. You fuckers are too used to the Big 12. Which you should know.
Independent.
Independent.
I'm a Notre Dame fan.
No, that's right.
Not a KU fan or an MU fan.
You know what, though? Even growing up in Louisiana, and I think it was because my dad was from Indiana, and Notre Dame was on every Saturday. That was my team, like football team, growing up until, I don't even know, whenever I just kind of stopped watching them. Yeah. But it was Notre Dame football and then Duke basketball.
Yeah, growing up in Catholic schools, I was always a Notre Dame fan, and then I started college at Southwest Missouri State, and our football team wasn't great, so nobody really went to the games, so we just watched the Notre Dame games in our dorm.
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah, so it was always on NBC. Throw NBC on, you got that game.
Yeah. I don't know. I was too busy playing basketball in college, so.
Yeah.
We didn't have a football team at the college I went to, so.
Yeah. We had pretty much all the sports, but baseball was pretty much the only well-attended one.
Yeah, they had a good baseball program for a long time.
Yeah,
I think
they still do.
That was the big thing whenever I was growing up, because that was one of the things, like LSU was really good at baseball. And then whenever I was, God, I can't remember how old I was, probably 10 or 11. I might have been a teenager, but Louisiana College which is this. I'd been to their basketball camp a couple times. They're like a, I don't know, Division II NAIA school or something like that. But they played LSU baseball every year. Well, they beat them. Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was like, what the hell just happened? And they beat them by playing small ball. They bunted every single run in. And then they played phenomenal defense. I guess they had a couple good pitchers that year. And, I mean, that's how they beat them.
You get a couple good pitchers. That's huge, obviously. Yeah. Captain Obvious here. Yeah. I mean, you could have even marginal defense, and you got a couple standout pitchers come through, you're going to be competing.
Yeah. And especially if you can play small ball. If you got 4 or 5 guys that can lay down bunts, all you got to do is get people on base.
It's like the 14-15 Royals, built on speed and defense.
Yeah.
Relief pitching.
Hey, man, that wins championships.
Only one, though.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. They ran into one of the better teams that's ever been assembled.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, Madison Bumgarner won that World Series.
Yep. With Joe Buck swinging from his dick.
It's funny how people will hate on certain announcers and be totally fine with other announcers that do they all do the same fucking thing. They all pick a team.
Fuck Joe Buck. I can't fucking stand that guy. And then when he's with Aikman on Fox, you gotta just turn the fucking volume off the TV.
See, I'm not. Yeah, I don't have that hatred for him. I mean, he's no Bob Costas. Like years ago, Bob Costas. Not Bob Costas now, who's like apparently super fucking liberal or something. I don't know. Yeah. But like Bob Costas doing baseball was the shit. And then he would do the Olympics. But yeah, I don't know. He just made this left turn that it's like, I
haven't followed Bob Costas at all.
It was almost like he started getting political.
Seems like everybody's doing that nowadays.
Yeah, but this was several years ago.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, he came out and said something about the whole CTE thing, and
I didn't know he had come out.
Yeah. Yeah, not that type of come out, but he made some comments about football and CTE and all that, and yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the end.
People just like to stick their foot in their mouths.
Oh, yeah. I'm a professional at that.
I am, too. That's one of my struggles is making sure that my opinions stay my opinions and don't make me look like a jagoff.
You know, the older I get, though, the less I really give a shit.
Uh-huh.
You know? It's like, no, I have the same rights as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's freedom of speech and all that stuff, and people kind of misconstrue that. Freedom of speech is freedom from persecution from the government. It doesn't mean that other people can't tell you you're full of shit. But...
yeah, I mean, that's your free speech.
Yeah.
To tell them that.
Yeah. But the kind of the way that I was raised, and Nelson and I have had a bunch of conversations about this, but the way that I was raised is we can sit here and we can have a discussion and come away and neither one of us agrees with the other's viewpoint. We can still be friends.
Yeah. Can't do that anymore.
No, you can't. No, you got to be
you got to throw insults into it. You got to
if you don't believe
the other person.
Yeah, if you don't believe everything that I believe exactly how I believe it at this given moment, then you're the enemy.
And God forbid you line up with a third choice.
Oh, there is no third choice.
Fuck.
It's either or.
Well, yeah, but if you're that third choice, then you're costing both of them because somehow you're both voting for and against.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind-blowing.
In the cancel culture, that makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
I don't understand why people are Here's a problem. People are too quick to apologize for shit. I'm not saying that you don't have to apologize for stuff if you say things that are fucking out there, but also you need to be able to give people some grace.
Right. But it's too often people have to apologize for opinions that aren't outright insulting, but somebody disagrees with it, so now you have to apologize. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I can have a differing opinion.
Yeah.
And not insult you and not have to owe you an apology.
Yeah. You can respect my opinion just like I can respect your opinion.
Right.
I think you're wrong.
And we can all agree that no matter what our opinions is, it's not going to fucking change anything. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's kind of where I've gotten with all this.
Yeah. That's where I try to be most of the time. Not going to say that I succeed 100% of the time.
I am definitely more like a 60-40, sometimes 70-30.
Yeah.
Facebook, I've gotten more like an 80-20.
Yeah.
And only 20% of the time I feel the need to actually get on there and comment. And then I'm like, fuck, this is stupid.
Yeah. How many times have you had a whole paragraph or something written out and then deleted it all and went like, yeah, I'm not posting that.
Yeah. And then you write it again. And you're like, no, I still shouldn't. And you get disappointed in yourself for not posting it.
Yeah.
Or you do post something and you have all these great arguments. And it's like, do I really want to spend the next 45 minutes going back and forth with this person?
Yeah.
Or should I just watch a TV show?
Exactly.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. I think one of my big buttons is reading articles or hearing stories or having conversations where people get pissed off whenever someone gets held to a standard. Standard's a standard for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially in the fire service, police department, military, most of our rules and regulations and standards have come because somebody fucking died.
Yep.
So there's all the evidence you need that the standard is needed and we should uphold that standard. Yep. When you start, that deviation or normalization of deviance, what they talked about in the driver's class that we had.
I've not had that yet.
Oh, it's a good one. You'll
been looking forward to it. I just haven't.
Yeah. Go in with
I was on end day when my company went.
Yeah. Go in with an open mind and you will get a lot out of it. But it's true. And it goes down to even the small stuff of, haircut, shaving, all that stuff. There's a reason why we do the things we do.
We don't have to shave anymore.
Well, I know. We don't. I'll get on that soapbox. Obviously, I haven't shaved. I have a beard. It's
Slifer.
like a Joe Dirt beard, kind of. So
very, very heavy on the dirt.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't just rub dirt on my face before I came into the studio today. I know that's what it looks like.
Not
well, yeah. Yeah.
Or is that gray?
Shut up.
Mine is almost pure gray.
I know, I can tell. But there's a reason why we do the things we do, and people don't understand that. And if you set them down and try to explain it to them, most people, they don't want to hear it.
Yep.
So, yeah, but that's my super, I still struggle with that. So, standards, holding people accountable.
Oof, can't do that anymore. No. Hurt a feeling.
Oh, yeah. There's a fine line between caring for people's feelings and then holding them accountable for their job.
I would disagree with that. As far as, if we're working together and I do something wrong and you come over and correct me, that's not about any feelings. Or if we do something and I forget a step and you correct me, that's not about feelings. There's no reason to be, getting butthurt about that.
But people do.
Right, but they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of being an adult. I mean,
yeah.
But there's also a difference between correcting somebody and just immediately flying off and chewing their ass and telling them they're stupid. And
Yeah.
I mean, now if it's the fourth time in a row they've done it, or they've asked the same question on, 4 straight calls of what do I bring with me, it gets a little testy. But
Yeah.
I mean, they still don't have to make somebody feel like a piece of shit for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my only differing on my viewpoint.
Well, and I think you raise a good viewpoint of like people react to certain things that with feelings that shouldn't. Like it's not a feeling issue.
Yeah.
It's a
So you need to learn this.
Yeah.
Our job is about, teaching the people who come after us. So if I'm not correcting you and teaching you and you continue doing this poorly, it's either going to cost yourself or somebody else. And there's no reason to take that chance.
Yeah.
We've lost too many people already.
Yeah. Well, which brings us back to mental health.
Right.
And being accountable for each other.
Right.
And seeing somebody, we're going to talk about that because that's not acceptable.
But I mean, we've all seen that guy who, instead of pulling somebody aside and explaining, hey, do it this way, not that way, this is the reason why.
Yeah.
It's you piece of shit. Why didn't you learn that before?
Yeah. Well, that comes back
to
to
that situation before.
Yeah, that comes back to communication and being a good leader.
Right.
And unfortunately,
but I think it also goes back to, and I could be wrong, but the generational. I mean, I know, and back when my dad was growing up, people didn't give a fuck. I mean, they were going to, berate you, they were going to tell you how it is. I mean, it was a lot rougher. I mean, even when I came on, I never, felt like I was hazed or bullied or anything like that. But I can remember stories of guys who just 3 or 4 years more time than me not being allowed to talk at the station. And it was just because there were older guys from, who had over 20, 30 years who, when they came on, you weren't allowed to speak unless spoken to.
Yeah.
And, unless you were one of the guys that came on later on and were treated with respect and included as part of the crew and made to feel welcome and, taught that way, then, I mean, if that's normal for you, then that's what you're going to carry on.
Yeah. You're not wrong. But, I mean, good leaders are good leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to do a little bit better job of. But then there's also, and I will say this, our job is one of those things where you can do that in a lot of situations where you can pull somebody aside and go, hey, this is why we do this thing. And you can
That's
talk.
not always what should be done.
Yeah. But there's also a life safety component to it where you don't have time to say, okay, little Jimmy,
That's not how I meant it.
Yeah. I know how you meant it. But there are times where if you're in the middle of a fire or you're extricating somebody and somebody's doing something that's dangerous, you're not always going to communicate the best. You're going to, because you need them to stop right now.
Right.
Or you need them to do something right now or else somebody's going to get hurt or killed. And, by and large, most people's default is to go, hey, don't do that.
Right. But I mean, that goes back to, and I know not everybody grows up playing sports, but it's like we tell the kids at sports, just because we're yelling at you to get your attention doesn't mean we're yelling at you on your ass.
Yeah.
But we're adults, so you shouldn't have to be explained that. At least I would think. I mean,
Unfortunately, you would be incorrect.
Apparently.
So, I mean, I
there's
made
also
it a point. I made it a point to have that conversation pretty much everywhere I went. First thing, that was the first conversation I had.
You're a yeller to begin with.
Yes, not so much anymore. The only reason I yell in softball is because I'm in the outfield. So I yell so you can hear me. Okay.
What?
If I talk softly, none of you deaf fuckers in the infield can hear me. Even if I yell loudly, most of you don't hear me anyway.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. So, but no, that was one of the first conversations that I had because I had leadership coming up that did the same thing. That would say, hey, listen, this is what it's going to be. Whenever we're at the station or whatever, we can have a conversation. I'll explain anything you want to know. Whenever we're on a scene, if I get a little amped up, it's not because I'm yelling at you. It's because it's a safety issue and I need you to stop or do something immediately. Yep. Afterwards, whenever we get back in the rig, the scene's over with, we're done, we get back to the station, I will explain to you my thought process. I will, we'll break it down. Said, I'm not chewing your ass. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm trying to keep you safe.
Yep.
Or I'm trying to keep somebody else safe. And for the most part, I'd say I've been successful with that. Not every time, but, straight up tell you, I'm still learning. I'm still learning the job. I've been a captain less than a year.
Yep. That was one of the things that stood out. I had a captain tell me pretty much the exact same thing. Around here, say whatever you want. And he's like, but once we get on scene, it's no longer a democracy. Mm-hmm. He's like, if I tell you to jump, you say how high.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to tell you to jump because that's fucking stupid. He's like, I'm just, but.
Yeah.
No, this is literally what he's telling me. He's
yeah.
like, I'm not going to tell you to jump because that's fucking stupid. He's like, that's just an example. He's like, but.
Yeah.
He's like, unless you see something that is danger, he's like, if I tell you to climb a ladder and I don't see it's on an electrical line, you can be like, hey, Cap, that's on an electrical line. He's like, other than that, you fucking do what I say. And if you got a question about it or you want to discuss it, we'll do it afterwards.
Yeah. And I think as long as you communicate that with your people before, I think that mitigates a lot of problems.
I think so.
It's not going to mitigate all of them because you do have people that they just, for whatever reason, you can't talk to them like that. Yep. Like, it doesn't matter if you're saving their life or not. They're not going to respond positively to that kind of verbiage or talking,
And it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. But it is what it is, and you kind of need to realize that. Now, am I saying you need to change how you do things? Maybe not. I don't know the answer.
You got to adapt to the person. I mean,
yeah. Well,
especially since you can't just be like, hey, you're a piece of shit. I don't like the way you're working. Go somewhere else and start over. I mean, especially with the way we're running things now. I mean, whoever's on your crew, unless they got enough time to bid somewhere, you're stuck with them.
Yeah.
So,
well, you have to learn how to read people and motivate people.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to you have to understand what motivates every individual on your crew. And some people you can talk to, like we're talking here, and it'll be fine. Some people you need to, I hate to say the term baby along, but some people, they need more hand-holding, which there's nothing wrong with that. But some people you can talk to pretty harshly and you get positive results out of.
Yep.
Which, dude, in my opinion, if I got to talk to you that way to get you motivated, that's just exhausting for me because I don't want to do that. I'd rather have a conversation with you. I'd rather get feedback from you of, hey, what did you see? Or, could I have done something better? Communicated it a little bit better to you. So that way I'm learning as well as you're learning.
Yep.
And we have that two-way communication. Because if all the communication is just coming from top down, you're in for a hard time.
Most definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going for an hour and 18 minutes. I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts.
Putting me on the spot.
Yes.
I mean, what kind of closing thoughts are you?
I don't know, dude. If you actually watch the podcast, you know I do this every time.
I don't watch podcasts.
Fucker. So, no, I mean, closing thoughts about mental health, state of the job, whatever. I mean, it's your closing thought. What about whatever we discussed today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for anybody who is feeling like they're spiraling down is to realize that they're not alone. Because that was the hardest thing for me is I just felt so fucking isolated. Didn't want to be around anybody. Didn't want to talk to anybody. And I wasn't calling people back who were calling me. I just wanted to be left the fuck alone. I didn't want my family around me. I just wanted to hide in a room by myself and just disappear. And then once I realized not only am I not the only one feeling like that, but there are genuinely people out there who give a fuck, it changes. And it not just, friends who give a fuck. It's strangers who give a fuck who, you've never met who feel so bad for you that they spend the entire 5.5 hours with you in the hospital. Not because, they have to. I mean, it was a fucking Sunday on Halloween, and, you know, the director of our uh, cares team came and sat with me in the hospital, and, I mean, you could tell the empathy and, I mean, how bad she was feeling for the situation I was in, and that was extremely moving and extremely helpful in seeing that I wasn't alone. And then, once you get into the program and you're with, however many other people were in there, I think it was like 16, and it's not just sitting around singing Kumbaya and talking about feelings, it's actually learning and getting to the root cause of why I'm feeling like this. Now I can make a change. I mean, it's fucking huge. It's absolute life changer, eye opener. I can't stop talking about how amazing that experience was for me. Obviously, wish I hadn't gotten to that point, but I mean, wishing and hoping never does anything. So,
Yeah, well,
you know,
you got the tools now to make sure that you don't.
absolutely.
So, and if you did, you know what to do.
Right. And I'm happy to pay it forward anytime I can. I mean, if anybody has any problem, reach out. I'll help any way I can. Anybody.
Awesome.
So,
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll end every episode this episode like we do every episode. If you're struggling, like you said, reach out. There are people who give a shit. If
absolutely.
you know somebody that is struggling, reach out to them. Let them know you care. Let them know what the resources are. There are plenty of resources out there. Yeah. So, all right, everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.